So thank you, Joe, for accepting my invitation to this podcast. And I like to start asking you a little background about why you study in the University of Guelph, why agriculture. So that way we have a little more kind of.
Sure. Yeah, so I went to Guelph primarily because everybody in Ontario who wants to study agriculture goes to Guelph. It was, for lack of a better term, it was the easy route. I really wasn't keen on going to university, so I figured at least if I went to Guelph, it was close to home. Um, I chose to study agriculture because agriculture has been a passion of mine for a long time. I grew up on a family dairy farm, and I wanted to continue to farm, whether it was in dairy, whether it was in beef. I wasn't 100% sure, but or even if it was in both. But I knew I wanted to study agriculture, and I felt that even when I was in my teens, I was fairly accident prone, and so I felt that if I had a university degree, I would be able to do something that wasn't as physically demanding if I wasn't able to farm. And my concern with college was that might not be an option. So that's the long and the short of it. I was, for lack of a better term, really disenchanted with my university experience after 2 years.
Why?
And so I never really felt like there was a good fit. I didn't feel like I really belonged at Guelph. It seemed at that time, I can't say that now, but it seemed when I was there that it was resting a lot on its laurels, and I didn't see a real desire from Guelph to allow us to know more about, say, individual commodities in a way that I would have liked. I am 100% a cow guy. I'm a livestock guy. I'm not a crop person. And there really wasn't the ability to specialize at Guelph unless you wanted to do a master's or a PhD or something like that. And I wasn't planning on being in academia for the rest of my life, so I wanted to get into the working world, and so staying around just to get a master's, just to be able to specialize, seemed a little bit foolish to me, and it wasn't the right fit for me. I'm not saying it's not the right fit for somebody else, but in my case, it was really a bad fit.
Did you finish or no?
Yes, I did. I took my third year on exchange at the University of Alberta.
Oh, that was different, huh?
That was, I wish I'd have gone to U of A for my full 4-year degree, or Saskatchewan, or McGill, or one of those other places. Guelph just was not the right fit for me. And so I had my 3 years done, and I looked at doing a transfer to U of A, but some of the reality to making that transfer was going to result in me having to take an extra semester of school. And as I said to my advisor at Alberta, I said, I would rather be done more than have a degree from Alberta. And so that ended up, I went back to Guelph for my fourth year. The fourth year was far better than the first two, but I was out that door almost before I dropped the pencil at my last exam. I was done.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes studying is not a good experience for somebody, and somebody said like, oh my God, it was amazing, I was the best years ever, but like you said, it was not your best fit. So after finish, you right away went to your farm. Is your dad farm or
Yeah, so my parents, my dad is, I guess technically he's the third generation on his farm. And then my mom, her family has farmed going back in Canada, going back to the mid 1800s, I believe. And Dad's family, on his mom's side, has gone back farming right to the turn of the 19th century. So
wow,
the early 1800s in Quebec. So we have a very strong tie to the land, and it was never forced upon us. It wasn't that we felt we had to keep this tradition alive or anything like that. It was just, I have two sisters, and we all chose to come back to farm, and that's what we chose to do. So, but yeah, so I came back. I had a small herd of beef cattle of my own, probably about 10 or 15 cattle at the time. And they were at mom and dad's place, and they said, we'll help raise them and everything else until you finish university. And then it's up to you to decide how that carries forward. And so I wasn't ready to sell off my cattle after just buying them. So I bought a round baler and started doing some contract work for other farmers. And I took over the lease on a couple of my dad's rented properties. And then I worked full time for mom and dad for a few years, while running my own farm. But my farm was very, very small in comparison. So
I came from a dad. My dad was like also an engineer in agriculture, but my dad was more focused in grains. So he was more like planting cotton, corn. And I always remember saying to my dad, because I am the older of many. So I say, Dad, please, just buy in Mexico we call it ranch, but it's like a field, no, where you can plant.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and I said, and I can run it for you. I was always kind of drawn, like you said, to that. It's like, it's something alive in everything that you are, I don't know, it's something that you, I don't know if it's because I was seeing my dad doing that, or like you said, is you have the choice to study any stuff, but you always kind of drawn to whatever you feel more comfortable or more alive. For me, was feeling more alive. Like I remember my dad passing to the cornfields and say, "Oh, listen, they are growing." So that's so it's when you are passionate in whatever want to do is like yeah. So.
Yeah.
So after, what could say was your best struggle, like putting your own ranch or farm, what was the thing that you say, oh my God, maybe I will study, I don't know, administration or whatever? What was the thing?
Well, I graduated in 2003. So I came out of university ready to go. I was going to build the beef herd. I was doing some work for a couple other farmers and helping mom and dad full time. And so I stepped out of there in would have been either April or May of 2003. And I even had and I was looking to buy a farm. There's a farm for sale. It's actually not too far from where I live now, but we put in a bid and didn't get it. The guy who's there now outbid me, and he got the land, and it is what it is. Well, within a matter of a week to maybe 2 weeks, this little thing called mad cow hit Canada.
Oh God!
And before mad cow hit, we were in a bit of a high point in terms of pricing for calves. I'm not sure if we were at record highs, but we were definitely in the high part of the cycle. All of a sudden, those prices went from highs to lows that hadn't been seen since the 1930s. And that's not in converted dollars, that's in real dollars. The price absolutely tanked. And we didn't know when that was going to come out. We were very lucky to be in dairy. Very, very, very lucky to be in dairy because the milk price didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
Our call price was obliterated. We went from, it used to be you could ship a cow, and you'd, after you took the auction fees and the trucking and everything else, you'd still come out with $800 to $1,000 or whatever, and that's kind of back to where we're at now. Well, guys were getting bills. Guys were shipping loads of cattle to the stockyards, and after you took off the commission and the trucking, they were getting a bill.
Oh my.
So I mean, you sit there and you think, like, how long can this go on for? And it really dragged on for quite a while. But so I mean, that meant that the first property I bought ended up being a house. It wasn't a farm. It was 4 acres and a house, and it was fortunately right across the road from mom and dad's. So I just walked to work every day, and it was right beside the place that I was renting for my pasture. So I fed them from my well instead of using the water line, and the electric fence. I can't remember if I ran it out of my house or if I ran it from the neighbor. I know we did a bit of both, but yeah, it was definitely, we were able to run on a shoestring for quite a while, and Dad was good enough to make trades with me because he said, like, replacement heifers are worth nothing, fat cattle are worth nothing, cows are worth nothing. So if you want, we can trade your calves for cows.
Mm.
And so I think it took about 3, maybe 4 years to buy out the herd that he had,
Mm-hmm.
and then start growing from there. So that would have put me running my full herd by about 2007 or so, I'd say. And about that time, the prices were starting to rebound a little bit, and yeah, I could sell the calves, and that paid my land rent, and that paid my input costs, and then whatever I was making at mom and dad's kind of helped pay the bills for the rest of things. But yeah, that was by far the very first challenge, was
Yeah.
bad cow hitting when it did, and make that decision to say, okay, do we just shut her down now before we put any money in, or do we say, well, at some point this will pass at some point,
Yeah.
and so do we say, I'm young enough right now, I don't have a lot behind me, so maybe now's the time to grow, and that was the decision made at the time.
Perfect. So compare now with that kind of challenge that you had at the beginning with the new stuff of this year, last year and this year. Is something that you feel like it was also a struggle with the pandemic?
Well, in my case, actually, and I really I cringe at saying this, because so many people were hit so hard by the pandemic, and in my case, the pandemic changed things for me, but it wasn't necessarily for the bad.
Mm.
I have a lot of colleagues, and I represent other farmers in my role as feedlot director with Beef Farmers of Ontario, who have been absolutely hammered by the pandemic, and my heart goes out to them. It's horrible what some of them have had to go through, but in my case, um, I always sold a little bit direct to customers and that sort of thing, and I had a standing order at one of the local abattoirs to take beef from me so that I could sell out to customers.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, we started getting the feeling that this might have gone on for a little bit, and so I'd noticed that one of the other local abattoirs had new ownership. I thought, well, let's give them a shot. So we started booking spots there, and we're pretty happy um, with what we got back from them as well. So we said, okay, we got 2 butchers we can trust. We got 2 butchers that we can work with. So let's just start booking spots. And instead of selling cattle through the auction yard where guys were getting hammered, or selling to the big packing plants where guys were getting really taken to the cleaners, we were selling direct to customers.
Mm-hmm.
And so our price really didn't change. If we'd have sold at the auction, it actually went up. It was a lot more work. It was a pile more work, but we were able to sell every animal that was born on this farm for the past 2 years through direct sales,
Mm-hmm.
versus having to sell through auction. I had an off-farm job officially up until I think July of last year, but unofficially until March of last year. I got laid off in March because I was one of the part-time workers, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot easier to lay off. And we were busy with business had gotten busy with beef deliveries, so I really didn't mind the layoff. And then in July, I was asked, you know, we need guys right now. Can you come? And I said, well, we're really busy right now. I can be available to you in a month, but we're swamped. And so the boss kind of took that as, okay, fair enough. And he agreed. He said that sounded good. And then within a week or 2 weeks, he sent me a text asking if I could give him my keys back.
Mhm.
I happily handed my keys off to my friend to take back to him, but it was a bit of a cowardly way of doing things from his end. But at the same time, I wasn't going back anyhow. So I mean, it is what it is. We carry on. So
And do you see yourself doing more what you start doing this pandemic, like selling to direct to the customer, or how you see the future of your farm?
So my farm, I see us doing whatever we can to keep the direct to consumer sales going. Um, my girlfriend has been pushing very hard for us to have an actual storefront,
Mm-hmm.
but we just can't. As of right now, I can't keep the freezer stocked at my place for smaller sales.
Mm-hmm.
The demand on quarters and wholes is so much that I we can't move extra animals to
Mm-hmm.
keep the freezers full for running a store. And it's a lot easier to do the quarters and sides and that sort of thing, and do the smaller sales whenever possible.
Mm-hmm.
It as it is, I need to take 2.5 days out of my schedule a week just to focus on that side of the business to keep it going.
Do you see yourself maybe instead of opening a store, opening a e-commerce?
Well, we actually kind of work e-commerce now.
Oh, perfect.
Um, like the reality is when it's a one person situation, as the farm is right now, um, we are e-commerce. So that doesn't mean that it's not a ton of legwork at my end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to stay on top of the inventory and that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, our sales are almost exclusively through Facebook or our website.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And that's just it's the way business has gone.
Yeah.
And yeah, some people ask if they can come out and buy at the store, and we have to tell them you're welcome to set up to come out and see the farm. It's not that we're trying to hide anything,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have a store.
Exactly.
The store is online.
Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah,
So
but I
so we
think
will
right now,
deliver.
yeah, and like you said, like right now, people are is going to be more open to start using an e-commerce platform for everything. So we were almost forced to do that last year, and whatever is at the half a year of this year. So I think people are going to be more comfortable buying stuff online, like you said, and save a lot of money for your part. Even you said like it's a little kind of a lot of job, but at the end of the day, for you, it's gonna be like better for everybody because you can also open more space for people from far away, maybe order some of your product.
Well, when you're dealing with a frozen product, shipping does become an issue.
Oh, okay.
So, and the fact of the matter is, our beef is Ontario inspected, which means it cannot go outside of Ontario.
Oh, okay. But
It's
Ontario
not
is a
done
big
at a
one.
public level.
Because Ontario is a big region.
Yeah, Ontario is a massive province, but normally what we try and do is we try and keep it within a few hours.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be hauling it with coolers or freezers or whatever to try and get it to the destination.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're doing that, we have to keep in mind that it has to stay frozen.
Yeah.
And so it's very, I'm not comfortable necessarily dealing with a courier business or that sort of thing, because how do we know? Well, we've known with some of the medications that we get chipped in or that sort of thing, that sometimes the wrong person handles it and it ends up sitting in a warehouse over the weekend and they've got stuff leaking out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not supposed to be leaking out of the box. And so what we try and do is we try and make sure that when we're going further afield, that it can be tied in with a bigger order or another event going on or what have you, to try and make things move a little bit cleaner. Normally I have business in Guelph once a month. So the trip from Oil Springs to Guelph, let's face it, it's going to happen anyway. So we just try and set up the beef delivery to happen around that trip.
Sounds good.
And
I was living in Petrolia for 4 or 5 years. Yes.
Okay.
So I am familiar. When I was checking yesterday, okay, where exactly is St. Clair? Oh, Oil Spring. And then Petrolia and then Sarnia. I said, okay, yeah, no, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and you sorry?
The vast majority of my business is into Sarnia.
Okay.
And then I have a nice little group of customers down in Windsor as well.
How long takes to go to Windsor from Petrolia? Like 3 hours?
An hour and a half.
Oh, very close. Yeah, very close.
Yeah, so it's an hour and a half each way. So that's where you're getting the 3 hours. But yeah, we try and do the deliveries at night.
Yeah, when it's cooler.
One, because it's cooler, and two, because then I can get the work done on the farm during the day. You take that delivery in the middle of the day, all of a sudden your whole day's shot. Where if I do the delivery at night, that hour and a half at the end of the day is it's my time. I'm coming home, and we make it work. So
very good. I would like to ask you about what kind of advice you can pass on to young generation who want to approach to go to have a farm.
So probably the best advice, if you're not coming from a farming background, is to try and work on a farm ideally somewhere close to you, but find a farm that's working in the part of the industry that you're interested in. So if you're interested in fruit and veg, try and find a greenhouse or an outdoor production model. If you want to work in corn and soybeans and wheat, there's lots of large cash crop farms. There's smaller cash crop farms that definitely need workers. The larger ones can generally keep you busy closer to year round. The smaller ones may need you on a more seasonal basis. So it depends on what you're most comfortable with. And if you want to work in the livestock sector, the the work is year round with livestock. The jobs change. So it's a case of finding a farm that's going to fit with what you want to do, and go from there.
Perfect.
And build up the knowledge. If you have the opportunity, go to the conferences. There's lots of conferences. Right now they're all online, so that makes them very accessible. But go to the conferences where you can, and learn from those conferences. If you want to broaden your knowledge, maybe find something that you want to work on, and look at that maybe as an educational program, whether you're going to go to college or university or what have you. And here's the interesting thing that I never even considered, and I really, I guess, regret not looking at. One of my good friends, and he was a fellow student at University of Alberta. He didn't take agriculture, but he's back running a farm now, and he came from a farm. And he said the important thing about post-secondary education is learning to learn and broadening your horizons. And so he said, it doesn't matter what you take. So if you want to take history or poli-sci or what have you, take it. Take it. But then use those lessons that you've learned in those courses and bring them to the conferences. Bring them to learning about how to better meet your customer base. Bring it to improve your salesmanship. Bring it so that you can understand different techniques or draw in new techniques. So you don't necessarily have to study agriculture to learn agriculture. The biggest thing is to make sure that you learn where you can find the information. And at some point you have to build that basis. At some point you do have to learn the hard skills. And you're going to learn that from working with other farmers or going to the farm conferences or that sort of thing. Those hard skills aren't necessarily going to be in the post-secondary realm. And I really thank Warren for opening my eyes to it. And I just wish I knew the guy beforehand. Because some of the most progressive farmers I know didn't study agriculture at school.
Yeah. Interesting. And I can relate, because really going to school is just a system that you can apply in any area. And I think it's the discipline to kind of be able to know where to look or where to go to find the answers that you need. That's good. That's good. Oh, I really, really love talking to you, Joe. Thank you for taking the time, and we will keep in touch.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.